Nish, welcome to the show. Fantastic to have you. We've been trying to get you on here for a while, I believe. How many months is it?
Oh, it's been far too long, Steve.
It's been a long, been a lot of months. Well, look, let's start by getting you introduced to the audience so that everyone knows who you are and what you do. So tell us what your company is and what its sort of aim is, and then we'll go back in history a bit after that.
Absolutely. So, Steve, I'm Anish. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Upcover. At Upcover, we're all about simplifying business insurance. So we started back in 2019 with the goal of simplifying the distribution and the creation of insurance. Mm-hmm. We launched our first products in 2020, which was, as you would have heard, the first pay-as-you-go food delivery rider product. It was protecting all the Deliveroo and Uber Eats riders on the road with a personal accident cover. And then more recently, we've kind of expanded our offering to go Australia-wide with an SME offering that covers all business owners, which provides them with cover that they need as they start their business.
Cool. Yes, I remember the whole Deliveroo saga. So tell me, you don't just go and start an insurance company for no reason. Give us a little bit of a backstory, what you were sort of doing before and where your aha moment was, where you decided you had to do this.
Yeah, to be completely honest, my background is financial services and startups, so I don't have any insurance experience before 2019.
Perfect.
That's perfect, right? A complete outsider.
Yep.
I met Sky, my co-founder, in 2019 through the Antler program.
Yep.
And we pretty much paired up on the same day. So we cracked out, which is what they say when founders discover each other and they want to work and build a company together. And since then, we've been on a journey. So Sky comes with the background of insurance. She's worked in the insurance industry for about 7 years. Between Zurich, Government of New South Wales. She's really the domain expert here. My expertise, if I were to put it that way, is more around distribution, around technology, product. Prior to Upcover, I was at Nearby, which was one of the largest B2B to C platform and a two-sided marketplace, more like an open table as you would have in the Silicon Valley.
Cool.
So we were joining restaurants and people who wanted to discover restaurants or services offering. And I scaled that team from 1 million to 10 million customers as I grew the platform as part of the leadership team. We were backed by Sequoia Capital. We raised Series A, then we raised Series B, and ultimately had an exit.
Awesome.
Yes, that's kind of my background, and that's how we started Upcover.
Pretty good pedigree.
It's a lot of learnings. I think my mentor used to say where everything's uncertain, anything's possible, right? Yeah. So when I came to Australia, I didn't know anyone. My background being in the UK and India, the networks were fewer and far. And I think the Antler program provided me with the sort of platform, and then I met my co-founder, and we kind of just built from there.
Cool. Well, there's loads of things I want to pick up on from there. So, firstly, and we'll come into Antler at the moment, because we know Antler very well. I actually want to know, which cohort were you? Because that would have been...
The OG, the
original. I was going to say, that would have been cohort 1, right?
Yeah.
So, we've had Adele on the show, and she's hopefully coming on again very soon.
Yeah, incredible.
We've done a lot of Antler companies on this show. We've invested in the Antler company. I'm an Antler angel, so we're very intertwined with Antler, but I thought that was cohort 1. But going back to before that, what brought you here? So you obviously grew up in India, then you were working in the UK, I'm guessing, and then you came here, is that right?
Yeah, so I'm an electrical engineer by trade, pursued electrical engineering, did my MBA, then worked at Goldman for about 3 years, started out in India, then UK, and then back to India at Nearby, which was a startup I joined as part of the leadership team. Was there from just as we raised Series A, then Series B, then exit, to the tune of $40 million, as I said, up to 10 million customers, growing the platform there. And then on the other side, because it was a two-sided marketplace, growing the number of registered businesses on the platform to 80,000 businesses. So I saw both sides of the two-sided platform. And then my wife, who was my then girlfriend, I'd been dating her for about eight years, and across countries.
You moved to Australia. I don't know
and she was based in Sydney, so I just flew in and flew out while I was at Nearby. I was getting a bit out of hand, so 2018 we got married. I packed my bags. 2019 I landed in Australia.
Can I tell you? I reckon out of all we've done, 80 odd, 90 odd shows. A lot of people have come from overseas, and whether it be a female founder or a male founder sitting in that chair, the reason they come here is always the partner. It's always the boyfriend or it's always the girlfriend. It's really interesting.
Special.
Yes. Why do they get us founders over here? I don't know what it is. Anyway, so that brought you to Australia. And so what did you do when you first got here?
So I chilled out for 3 months.
Yep.
I mean, Australia's got the best beaches in the world, right?
As long as you arrive right time of year.
Yeah. I pretty much arrived Feb. Which
perfect.
Was good. Yeah, perfect. And it wasn't the rainy season. It was back in 2019 where things were all perfect.
It didn't rain every day.
Yeah, it didn't rain every day. I was so glad. So, and then Antler program started around May.
Yeah.
So that's where we started to kind of meet other founders, and I met Sky. And I realized that she had all the skill sets that I did not have. And she had a deep desire to change how insurance worked and how it was delivered and how the customers experienced it. And as we started to unpack, I asked her 100 questions, probably more than that, just trying to unpack and explore. And then we kind of honed in on business insurance, and we said, this is what we should bring to market. This is where our expertise is. So the first product that we launched, as I said, was the food delivery product. We were pretty much standing out on the streets, Surrey Hills, wherever you'd find delivery riders.
You were in the news a fair bit as well, from memory.
We were the only ones doing
no one else
cover.
did it, right? There was no other option for them, which is a great place to be.
Absolutely, and it was $1 a day, so it's extremely affordable. These guys make about $100 a day, so about $1 a day was perfect for them to be able to get the cover if they got injured. And the big realization from there we had was the way we delivered the product was more important than the product itself. To give you an example, we delivered it inside the mobile app of the delivery companies, which meant that they had cover while they were on the road. They didn't have to download an app or buy the cover separately.
So you went to delivery, you went to those companies and you said, right, this is what we want to do. We want to deliver it through your app. I mean, that's some impressive thinking, really. I mean, you've seen an opportunity, you stood out on the streets, and then you've also managed to obviously scale that by going to the providers. That's,
The idea was make it contextual. They have, if we give the insurance while they were on the road, while they switched on their app, it would be contextual, and the take up and the conversions would be higher than what it would be if we just made it available on upcover.com. So that's why we delivered the experience. And then we said, if we could do it for the delivery rider segment, how about we did it for the entire SMB market? Insurance is complicated. Folks don't get it. Business owners have a hard time navigating the questions. There are heaps of questions to be answered. So what we've got today is within 10 seconds, we can get you a price with just 2 questions. So you don't have to fill a long questionnaire to be able to get a price if you're looking for insurance as a business owner. And then 90 seconds and you can get yourself all covered and buy the policy and get the documents all delivered to your email.
Now for the business owners you're talking about here.
All the business owners. We just launched the cyber insurance product for SMBs.
How does that work? Because that's probably something a lot of people will be interested in. That we're getting, obviously as a business owner, constantly bombarded by cyber companies, constantly terrified by cyber scare emails. We've had some issues ourselves with people impersonating us, and we're doing all sorts of, there's this, and it's growing, right? And if you're a small business owner or even a medium business owner, cyber is terrifying unless you're a technology founder. So talk about that, because I think that's something that a lot of people will find interesting and probably want to buy, because I think it's one of the greatest threats to business going forwards. I really do. So let's talk a bit about that product, because I'm intrigued about that.
Absolutely. Look, the cyber cover by itself is great for small business owners and startups as well. So the cyber cover provides peace of mind to business owners and startups. A lot of businesses are starting to transact online, especially in the post-COVID world. A lot of them have remote teams. They use cloud-based applications. They store customer data at their premise one way or another. And all those electronic records are at the risk when a cyber attack happens. So the cover is a very simple cover. It doesn't require you to answer hundreds of questions to be able to get out the cover. We've simplified the question set, so with 2 questions, which is pretty much what you do and tell us how much you make in annual revenue as a business, and we are able to give you an estimate price. And then from there on, answer a few questions about how your IT systems are set up. Who are your vendors? Do you have the right kind of security measures in place? And using all of that, you're able to maybe another 10 questions and get a price from there on. If you were to search for cyber insurance online, you would discover a lot of vendors online on Google.
Done it. It's terrible. It's a terrible
But
experience.
you submit a PDF form, and then they come back to you and they ask you 100 more questions, and it's not as simple. And business owners don't have the time. Insurance is just check the box, and it should be as simple as that.
And I wanted you to explain that more from my point of view. I'll pretend it was for the audience, but it's more from my point of view, because I've looked at cyber insurance a couple of times and I've just gone, nah, I'm not doing it. It's too hard. And I've just spoken to our vendors about it, and they've come back with lots of more complicated, and I've just gone, let's just leave it for now. So I'm relying on my SaaS providers to do that for me. So I'm really interested about that. So, okay, that's good to know. I'm going to have a look at that. But talk about your other businesses' insurances. So what else are you now covering? Because we have a lot of business insurances as well, and there are a lot of different ones. So what does your product suite include right now?
So we launched in September 2021 with our first product, which was specifically focused on allied health professionals.
Yep.
So yoga practitioners, psychologists, nurses, disability support workers. I'd say there are about 700,000 of them in Australia, and all of them are at risk, and they're looking typically for two sorts of covers, which is the liability cover, which covers them against third-party liability, injury, and then professional indemnity cover, which is essentially covering them for any sort of professional advice or judgment they might give, which could cause damage to the client or cause them financial harm or even a health issue. So both those products, the liability cover and the indemnity cover in combination, is what is taken out typically by allied health workers. And so our product cover provides cover to them for all those situations, whether they are working at a client place, whether they're taking them out for a swim. There is a wide coverage. We've looked at the market and we've partnered with market leading underwriting agency, which is ProRisk. We've gone through the policy wording. It helps that Sky's, understands that space through and through. And so we've been able to create a really simple experience for them online where, again, as I said, 2 questions to get a price, and then another probably 10 questions to get the final quote.
With that really simplistic model,
Yeah, and I think the big realization there, and it is why we've been able to service so many business owners. Since launching, we've had about 6,500 business owners go through that experience. We've got hundreds of policyholders, hundreds of Google reviews in an industry that's poorly rated on NPS and Google star ratings or Trustpilot, whoever you trust.
Insurance is poorly rated by everybody in every. I mean, if anyone's ever tried to make a claim, we all know it's like the hardest thing in the world.
Yeah, and there are only 2 types of customers, right? The ones who have made a claim and who haven't made a claim. And the ones who haven't made a claim don't really realize what they get, because they don't get anything when they buy a policy. It's always in the future. So it's so important to go with someone who's trusted, whose balance sheet or the risk that gets underwritten on that balance sheet is trustworthy, the partner is trustworthy. And so, which is why we made sure that every single intermediary that we've partnered with, we don't have the balance sheet on which we write the risk.
No.
The partners that we've got, or the underwriting agency that is powering it, or the claims partners who we've partnered with, all of them are A-star, are some of the best in Australia. The underwriting agency, for example, won the Underwriting Agency of the Year award in Australia for 2 consecutive years for the last 2 years. And UpCover is rated 4.9 on Google. So as distribution partners, customers are front and center for us.
Yeah. Okay, I've got a question for you. So there's a lot of people who come in here and are changing the way large industries have worked for years and years and years. Insurance is very much one of those, right? I don't think we've ever had an insurance startup on before ever either, which is good for you. So have you got any stories about the big Goliath companies coming at you in a funny way? Have you caused enough of a thorn in their side where you've had letters or you've had any bullying, or is there anything interesting like that may have happened during, because what's it been, 4 and a bit years, right?
It's been 3, we're just completing 3 years.
Yeah, just completing 3 years. So anything that's happened during that time that you've had to push through? So I usually ask people what's the hardest thing they've done, and we'll come back to that question. But what I want to know is there any underhand tactics that you've seen whilst you've been growing the business?
No, I think with the benefit of dealing with big insurers and institutions is that it's heavily regulated. So everybody follows the protocol. So if it's a no, it's a no. And you would know for the reasons, and then the hard part is how do you convince them? I think the hardest part for us as a team that started in 2019 without the balance sheet to be able to underwrite those risks was to convince these big institutions why they should back us. 2 people who probably have never run a book of insurance before, why should they be trusted with distribution of a product where, as one of our advisors says, the cost of insurance is always in the future. It's never in the present. It's always what claims would come in the future. What is the sort of risk selection you're doing at present with the businesses that you're underwriting? So I think we realized where they were coming from, and we had to overcome that. And that took us. Oh, it's a long process. Like, there is, to be honest, there's no process. Like, we were just persistent and gritty for 16 months, speaking with different insurance providers. We spoke with almost 16 of them. We pitched to them. Even before we were pitching to VCs, we were pitching for insurance capital. So again, it's something that we've realized. Insurance can be broken down into 3 C's. You need to have capital, which is the insurance capital. You need to have venture capital to start and run the business, and then you need customers. And most startups juggle with 2, VCs and customers. Insurtechs, the reason they are so far and few is because you need insurance capital before you can have the other 2. So the hardest part was for us to get the insurance partners on board, and now we've got 3 on board. And it's taken us 36 months to get there. The first didn't sign
grit,
until
right?
like the
Pure
first 16
grit.
months. It's just that it's a lot of modeling, it's a lot of business plans that you need to present. How will you profile risk? Why are you the right distribution partners? What is special with Upcover that is not there with another company or another upstart? And I think getting them across that line. So in the early days, Sky was writing the documents by herself. I was doing a lot of actuarial modeling. Even though I don't have the background in actuaries, I have a background in mathematics. So pretty much learned what I had to learn to model and present to big insurers. And you can imagine when you step into a room, these guys have been doing that for a lifetime. Like there are people who are actuaries for 20 years. And you need to be able to hold your model and present to them and present the data and the risk and tell them why you'll be able to do it with 2 questions and while they've been asking 10 or 15 questions.
Absolutely. And actuarial skills are not simple things to do. It's not a simple role. It's a highly skilled role.
It's a highly skilled role. We had the benefit of being able to tap on the shoulders of some of the heads of actuaries of insurance companies in Australia. But at the end of the day, as founders, you have to internalize a lot of what there is and then be able to simplify it and then present it in a fashion so that the others can trust you and know that these folks know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And in the very beginning, in the first 16 months, it was just Sky and I pretty much holding the fort, going to different insurers, speaking with them, trying to get the capacity, which is what we call the insurance balance sheet, and get the product out in the market. And then when we got the capacity is when we start to write the SaaS and the tech platform. And that took us another 12 months to write.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot too. I mean, it's funny you talk about actuaries. My mother wanted me to be an actuary, which for anyone who knows me, particularly anyone in my company, knows that this is probably the last thing I would ever be able to do. I'm horrific with any kind of numbers. So it's good that you had a maths background. So you get all that done, so then you come to the tech platform. Do either of you have a tech background? Obviously you'd worked in a tech business before, but are you a tech person? Can you code? Can Sky code? Or did you completely have to go and find people to do that for you and kind of speed learn it enough so that you knew what they were doing?
Yeah, so I don't write code now. I've written some code a while back in school. I pursued electrical and electronics engineering, so we had to write code as part of it, and then I got my first job in Cisco before I joined Goldman. So I have a background in being able to understand. I was also interviewing for Google when I came to Australia for a product.
How many interviews did you do?
Oh gosh, like 12
78?
12 or 13 or something like that. So my background is product. I worked with engineers in the past. So I knew what we had to do to get the product out there. But we were absolutely certain that we had to get the right person for this job because we couldn't be worrying about the platform.
Absolutely.
There were too many other things that we had to fix and get up and running. And so I did about 78 engineering interviews to find our CTO.
78?
I still remember the number because I know I found the one on the 79. Like I found our CTO on the 79th. We had been interviewing for 6 months and everyone was asking me, what are you looking for in this person? And I knew that they would have to be so special because they would come on this journey and they would have to be resilient and gritty and there wouldn't be immediate outcomes. They'd probably write software for 6 months before we would even sell our first policy. And even after that, there would be so much adaptation and changes because the insurance partner always continues to kind of evolve the offering. We would have to have a really agile mindset and somebody who's very hands-on because Sky and I are very hands-on. So we finally got this person. He was also interviewing at Google for an engineering position role, which
At
is
least
fine.
you knew you had time then.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were able to get this person on board. Sajad, he's our CTO today. He's been with the business for 2 years, exceptional background, went to the best school in Pakistan. So the running joke between Sky and me and Sajad is he's Pakistani, I'm Indian, and Sky is Greek.
Right.
And so
there's a combo.
Yeah, it's a unique combo and we wouldn't have met unless under these circumstances. There was no chance I would have been in Australia 6 years ago if I were thinking about my future. And then meeting Sajad, that was just chance occurrence as well.
Well, not chance. You interviewed 78 people before him. I'd say that's your favourite word of the day, which is grit again. I interview all day, right? That's my job. And 78 interviews, that's a lot of it. If I had to interview 78 people for one job, I would be talking to the client about their expectations because that is a ridiculous amount. But look at the payoff. Although all clients out there, don't go thinking we need to interview 78 people for these roles, please. But that's you've shown time after time, I think, with this, overnight success, as everyone would like to call it, is that the perseverance and resilience you've had to put in for this is next level. Next level.
I would say that it's a waiting game. It requires a lot of patience. We are the only SME insurtech in Australia. servicing the businesses, the small business owners, unlike in the US and the UK where venture capital finds opportunity much faster.
Yeah.
I think in Australia we haven't had the first successful run of InsurTechs. Upcover is a bit of a pioneer there. Starting in 2019, it took us a while to get the first partners on board.
Who did you end up going with from a VC point of view? I mean, obviously Antler kicked you off, right? But when you have to go, and then it's never enough to take it to where you needed to. Who did you end up going with after that? Did you go down Angels? Did you go to one of the larger ones? How did that pan out?
Yeah, we went the Angels route. I think any founder who starts their journey and they're a first-time founder should go to Angels first because they're the biggest believers and the earliest believers in the business.
Yep.
And they bring a set of skills and networks, and by personally investing, they vouch for you. So I think that's a really good strategy. So our first $1 million came pretty much from Angels and Antler combined. And then from there on, we had others who joined us. Better Labs, which is the in-house VC arm of RAC Western Australia.
Yep.
We had our first conversation in 2019, and then they came on board in 2021 because they saw that we weren't going away, and we were continuing to ship product and roll out policies.
That's cool. That's good. It's good when they sort of they do that. They watch from afar, and then they come back.
I think it helps to have those conversations. Look, nobody's going to write you a check just like that. That's been a big realization. You need to get people on a journey. You need to show them progress and tell them why you're the team they should back you with capital. The team they should be backing with capital. There are so many opportunities out there for their capital. They don't need to necessarily invest in InsurTech. And I think that's kind of been the big realization as we are going ahead and raising more capital or talking to VCs now. It's about widening that network as much as possible, get everyone on the journey so that they can see our progress month on month. And it's been phenomenal so far. Like in the last 3 months, we've grown 25% month on month.
That's massive.
Since launching, we've grown 100% quarter on quarter. It's just such an underserviced market, and there's nothing simple available out there for business owners to make a decision just like that.
Well, there is. It's called Upcover.
Now Upcover.
So tell me, what's the future hold? Are you looking at expanding the product suite? Are you looking at expanding geographically into other countries? Where's your heads at, the three of you?
I think product suite is the first one. We want to be able to be the one-stop shop for business owners.
Yep.
So next off the shelf for us is a rideshare insurance product and commercial motor, which will help business owners who are either rideshare drivers or could be a yoga practitioner but wants a commercial motor because they zip around the town and are going to client locations. We've got the personal equipments, which is also called tools of trade cover. Any tradie, plumber, electrician, carpenter.
Cool. Makes sense.
We are also looking at doing a standalone professional indemnity cover for financial services, folks in the financial services industry, planners, white collar workers, accountants, bookkeepers. And then from there on, there are a couple of other products that we are toying with. One of them is a tailored startup insurance.
That would be a great idea.
Yeah, there's so many startups who come to us and they say, can you do directors and officers for us, or can you do cyber for us? And it's a different sort of a risk profile, which is why.
It's a different market. I mean, we know that obviously because we deal with them, and we've been doing it for 3 years, and I've learned so much about the space, and it is different, and it does require, we've tailored our product specifically to that, which is why we don't work outside of that. So I think you're right. I think there's definitely a market there which they can start in and then grow into your other products, right? So you keep them for the life cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think startups are brilliant because we understand that space. We've been a startup ourselves. We've sourced our own insurance. It's taken us a while to get there. So we feel the pain that startups go through, and we feel like nobody's servicing this market again, like the SMBs. And probably it's too hard, or it's too complicated, or it's too complex to underwrite. But we'll get there. That's how we solved the SMB market, and that's how we want to solve the startup market.
I've got one for you to solve, right? And I think it's very topical. And I don't think it's even possible, but I'm going to put it out to you, and we'll see how you go over the next few years. You look at the way we are right now in the world, the world's changing, interest rates are going up, the funding at the earlier stage is becoming harder. So I think it's still okay once you're sort of on the journey and you're proving that you're going in the right direction. I think it's not so difficult to get funding, but the real early stage, like where you were when you came out of Antler, that's becoming increasingly hard now. Do you think there is a product out there, because we've seen it a few times, where they have secured funding, they've signed a term sheet, but for whatever reason, that person pulls the money at the last minute, and then that company ends up falling over for whatever reason? Do you reckon you could insure that, where you get to someone who's signed a funding on a term sheet, and then the investor pulls the money? Do you reckon you could ever insure that? Because that would be the most popular product in the entire startup sector. That's a big risk kind of profile, but it would be an interesting one to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, never say never, right? At the end of the day, we've realized that if we nail distribution and we can deliver traditional products in a unique fashion, then we will be able to build unique products and deliver them in the way we've cracked distribution. So our focus right now is just make sure all SMBs in Australia can get the simplest business insurance experience online, the fastest one. Get start to finish, 90 seconds, check the box, build your business, don't worry about insurance. And just not have to worry about renewals or having to complete the whole process again next year when you're trying to buy your insurance. Just simplify the experience as much as possible. That's all we are about. The other thing that we've done, which is very interesting, as we built UpCover, we realized there were other businesses who wanted to offer insurance to their business audience.
Right.
A perfect example of this could be a ride-hailing company who wants to offer insurance to their drivers.
Yep.
Or there are lending companies who want to be able to offer insurance while they are offering loan products.
Yep.
And for them to do that is having to go through the same cycles and jump the same hoops that UpCover did. So what we built is through our platform, we also enable anybody to become a distributor of products.
Well, that's a cool idea. That's a really cool idea.
And you can co-brand and white label with us and pretty much use the same platform that we've got, because we dog food our own APIs. We've written the infrastructure, and then we can open end the infrastructure so anybody can use our platform to distribute the product.
That's going to super accelerate growth.
Yes, and I think that's kind of where we see a lot of growth coming from in the future. UpCover.com as a brand has been doing phenomenally well. And we feel like business owners want to know which brand they're buying from, and that's UpCover.com.
Yep.
But they also trust the other intermediate brands with which they're able to bank or find jobs or get a service. And all those offerings could also be a channel for delivery of insurance, or to just check the box when the time is right. So that's what we're doing there with.
Absolutely. There's someone I should introduce you to. We'll talk about it after the episode, actually. Okay, last question. So you, without question, are going to be growing over the years to come. There's a lot of people who watch this show who love working in the startup space and the scale-up space, and they're loyal followers, and they look potentially for founders that they might want to go and work with. In your own words, because no one can ever put it better, why would someone want to come and work for UpCover at some stage in the future?
If you're really passionate about something, you will find your space at UpCover.
Yep. Okay.
Whether you're good at sales or customer success, or product or engineering, we are extremely focused on what makes you win and makes you feel successful, and we try and make sure that we can have those sort of opportunities where you can really thrive. It's with every single person who's joined the team, we made sure that they can get to do the best work, the most challenging problems, and they can also see the growth, not just in terms of their own growth, but also the business going from one space to another. I think that's kind of why someone would join UpCover, and it's what we've heard from everyone who's joined UpCover. We have a team of 15. It's globally distributed across 6 countries. Our engineers are based in Kazakhstan, Nigeria, India, Pakistan. Our product marketer is based in Italy. Yep. And we built a remote-first culture, so there is flex available irrespective of whether you work from. Our engineers are always traveling. Someone's going to Korea, other one's going to Spain, and it doesn't quite matter where you work from. So I'd say flexibility and the ability to be able to find your own niche and thrive and feel successful at what you do.
Awesome. Good answer. I think you nailed it. Mate, thank you so much for coming on the show. I wish you the best of luck with all your products, and you keep that grit going, because it looks like it's serving you well. And it's a pleasure, and it's good to have the first InsurTech on the show.
Thanks so much, Steve. It was a pleasure being here.